Welcome to Grit, the Real Estate Growth Mindset podcast, hosted by Brian Charlesworth, founder of Sisu. Sisu provides growth automation software for real estate. You'll hear stories from real estate thought and technology leaders, team owners, and brokers on how they grew their business in a rapidly changing industry. You'll learn how to transform your brokerage and teams into a high-performing and analytics-driven business so you have a new, durable, competitive advantage against disruption in your market. So let's get right into it.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Grit Podcast. I'm Brian Charlesworth. I'm the founder of Sisu, the growth automation software for real estate, and your host of the show. And today I'm here with Erica Ramus with Ramus Realty Group. Geez, Erica, if you were to go to her website, which is ramusrealty.com, you will see hundreds of awards here, but a few that I wanted to key in on is top 20 under 40 in the Northeast Pennsylvania. She is top 25 women in business in 2008 in Northeast Pennsylvania, and a number of other things. She's a volunteer and has dozens of awards on there. So go check that out. And I'm thrilled to be here today with you, Erica, and look forward to learning more about how you're driving your business forward in such a great way.
Thanks, Brian.
Tell us, so you have Ramus Realty Group, and that's a brokerage, right?
Yep. I describe it as we are fiercely independent, and it's a small group of highly productive full-time agents. We're the number one independent brokerage in our marketplace, and we just operate very differently.
Okay, I love it. Independent people are usually super aggressive, have their systems in place extremely well. So I do want to dive into some of those things with you. But don't you run your business more like a team as well, even though you're a brokerage?
We're a brokerage, but I think you could describe it as a super team concept. So I'm the broker. I'm the rainmaker for the most part. I consider my job to be bringing in the leads. That's my job. That's my focus. I do all the marketing for the brokerage. I handle on the back end all the paperwork, and I actually communicate with the clients. So yes, my agents bring their own business in. They have a lot of repeat and referral business, but I am always there in the background. So we have 12 agents, and there's a minimum production quota in the office of 24 sides a year. So my agents must close at least 2 a month to stay in the office. They have to be full-time. If we bring on a part-timer or a new person, they have to have a transition plan. We have to have a time frame and a hard stop of when they will be quitting the full-time job. I understand it's difficult, but we have to have a plan. We don't hire part-time hobbyists. Everything is done by the brokerage. Everything from ordering the signs to the lock boxes to paying for all of the Zillow ads, all of the marketing is paid for by the broker. And so we control the whole process, start to finish. And while other brokerages talk about we are agent-centric, we are client-centric, client first, agent will follow. And that's just the mission and the vision of the business.
Okay, good. I love that. So, geez, I had about 10 questions that just came up while you're talking about that. So you guys are a brokerage, but when you say you act like a team, you're doing the marketing, and if you're paying for Zillow leads, I know what kind of dollars you're paying there. And I mean, you're putting out a substantial investment in doing that. You are acting as a TC, you're bringing in their leads, you're recruiting agents. Is that something you're doing, or is somebody else in your office doing the recruiting?
We actually don't actively recruit. Everyone who's been in the office came to us through their act of being proactive. I do not go out and recruit agents. They come to us.
Okay.
And we actually turn down more agents than we accept. So
you have a reputation of being the top brokerage that only top producers are allowed, and you guys actually provide leads and do transaction coordination and all the stuff that a normal team does so that the agents can focus on selling real estate. Is that right?
Exactly. I don't want them doing the back end stuff. I don't want them to worrying about how to do the marketing. I just want them to get in the car, list and sell properties. That's it. Go to closing, and we will handle all the rest.
Okay. Okay, so you really are like a power team. What about splits? Do you charge like a brokerage? Do you charge like a team? How do you guys make money?
We have a straight split. Everybody's on the same program. Everybody's on the same plan. We pay for everything in the office, so the agents have to do nothing except show up and sell.
Yep.
And we're on a split. So if somebody wants higher split or wants more money, it's just not fair, and it's not how the program works in our office.
Makes sense. I think that's how every team out there that I've ever met operates as well. So, okay. So why an independent brokerage? You said you are fiercely independent. Let's talk about that.
So I've been a part of multiple franchises. I was an agent years ago at a franchise, and I started out with a franchise. When I went on my own, I knew how to run a business because I had been a business owner in the past, but I didn't believe that I knew or had all the systems and the tools to run my own company. So I did go out and purchase a franchise, and it was a huge mistake in my opinion, because the systems and the tools they gave me, I had to bend and tweak until they were my own anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And I was paying a franchise fee, and it just wasn't a perfect fit for me. So the turning point.
What value were you hoping to get out of that franchise that you didn't get?
I think I was hoping for more guidance. So when they sold me the franchise, they said, we have websites, we have this, we have that. You can have all this when you're one of our franchisees. And as soon as I had signed on, I said, okay, where's my website? And they gave me a 0.2 website, the lowest possible free website that's out there in the world. And I said, that's not what I signed on for. I wanted a real website. This was 2007. I ended up paying $5,000 to a custom designer to get what I wanted anyway. Okay. So, and it went down the list. They said, we have marketing. We'll create custom ads for you. So I would contact the marketing department, the ad department, and say, this is what I want. And 2 weeks later, there's an ad in my inbox. Was not exactly what I wanted, and it was late. And I ended up creating my own ads anyway. So I went through the whole process also of not having my name on the business. And just me personally, in my area, I was known as a local business owner. Mm-hmm. I had a prior business, and the turning point was a local attorney called Century 21 down the street and said, I'm looking for Erica Ramus and I can't find her. He couldn't find me in the phone book. And Century 21 was very nice and gave them my brokerage name, the franchise, and gave them my phone number. And he called me up and he said, I'm listing my house with you, but I couldn't find you. I want Ramus on your name.
So you were actually a C21 brokerage.
Actually, I was not. I was Realty Executives.
Okay.
And the attorney called Century 21, one of my competitors, to ask how to find me.
Okay.
They
Realty
were
Executives. I'm not even familiar with Realty Executives. Where are they based out of?
So they were out of Phoenix, and they were the first 100% franchise. They started before Remax.
Really?
So, yep. They started just a couple years before Remax. This gentleman in the Phoenix area started Realty Executives. It was 100% concept. And apparently his right-hand man left and went and started Remax.
Oh, okay.
So that's the story there. But I loved their marketing, and I loved their message. Their message was, we are executives. This is our full-time job. They called their people associates and not salespeople. And I thought, I want to hire a team of executives. I don't want to hire salespeople. So I bought the franchise, and I consider that my first master's degree, that output that I put, to buy the franchise. I spent $25,000 or more, and I got 3 years of training really fast on how I wanted to run my business.
So I show here that you actually hold a master's degree in real estate. Is that what you consider your master's degree in real estate, or did you get that from education at a school?
I would consider that's my second master's. So I paid another $25,000 for that. So
tell us about getting a master's in real estate in school, because I don't know if I know anybody else that I've met that actually has that.
There's not many programs out there. I mean, Temple has one, Wharton has one, Columbia University in Missouri has one, but it was a program actually that NAR spearheaded it took them about 5 years to get it up and rolling on the ground, but it opened in 2010, 2011, and NAR put this program together for a full master's, and it's an accredited master's degree out of Illinois. And after running it for a couple of years and putting 7 or 8 groups of students through, they spun it off. So now it's a program at Columbia University in Columbia, Missouri. But it is a fully accredited master's degree. It took 2 years of 8-week modules. We had to do a capstone, final dissertation, and it was a rigorous program. And I was one of the first 13 people in the country to receive it. So,
wow.
But
you're the first one I've met that actually has that. So I may need to get an autograph from you or something when I see you next.
It just means I put my time in, and I wanted it not so much that I could put it on my resume, but because I wanted the experience. It basically was giving me what I learned through buying my franchise, but at a different level. We had to put together operating procedures. We had to put together a full business plan, marketing plan, the whole works. It took 2 years, and I did my dissertation on dual agency in the country, and it was a good experience, but it also just brought me to a different level as far as my understanding of the whole business.
Which is probably why you went the route of starting your own brokerage, I'm guessing.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So as a brokerage, as a broker owner, as an independent broker, you're really working as a team, which means you're providing leads. It also means you're providing technology for your people. Talk to us about your technology stack and what you guys are doing there.
Technology stack is, it's always a challenge. I always want to hone it down and have everything talk to each other. The biggest problem I've had over these years is there's this piece here and there's this piece here and there's this piece here. And the agents don't want to log into 17 dashboards to
you sound like me, honestly. I mean, that's the same thing I say every day.
I want them to go to one place, and there's never going to be a single sign-on. I don't know, but they've got to go to the MLS. We use Boomtown for our lead gen and CRM, and also drip campaigns. And I've tweaked Boomtown to be almost everything. I know there's other people who use Boomtown as lead gen, and then they have something else for contract to close or to do all the touches that they do, but we do everything in Boomtown. And then from Boomtown, we moved to Dotloop. Dotloop is our transaction management program. So they can actually start a loop in Boomtown with a buyer or seller, move it to Dotloop. Dotloop is our contracts and signature and task lists. And then as soon as we get under contract, we bring it into Sisu. And Sisu is our contract to close. It is our accountability program where we see what's in the pipeline. It's how I pay the agents, and it's how we keep track of the vitals.
Okay. So we are just updating the payment piece there in the very near future, so you can actually make your payments from Sisu as well. So excited about that. But you guys are using a different workflow than most of our customers that go from Boomtown to Sisu to then .loop. So anyway, it's just interesting to see the workflows, and you and I share the same vision that there really should only be 1 or 2 softwares that you actually need to sign into, and that everything should speak, or that you should just minimize where the data is having to be entered. So
the agents get confused, and think about most agents and their personalities. Their personalities are their drivers, their sellers. They're not detail oriented. The typical agent wants to go out and sell and bring the bacon home. The typical agent does not want to sit there and open 12 different windows to figure out, I'm going to update Boomtown, then I'm going to take it over here, then I'm going to update it over here. It drives them nuts.
Yeah, that was a big part of the mission we were looking to solve when we started Sisu. As you know, we're still working on that. So Great. So you are still in production or you're not in production today?
I am minorly in production. So I used to do millions and millions. And in my area, we're a small, local, rural part of Pennsylvania. Average price point is about 100,000. So when you tell someone you're $1 million producer around here, that's high stuff. $1 million producer around here is selling 10 to 12 houses a year. So it's a big deal. But I am minorly in production because there will always be certain buyers or sellers I have to have my hand on or we won't get. There are people who call up and say, I will have you, I have to have you. You've sold 3 of my houses in the past. And so I will take that on and gently try to slide them to another agent. I take everything I can, even my personal stuff, and have another agent on it with me. And even if my name is on it, the agent assisting me will get the money. They'll get the payment. The way we work the team is the agents will get every lead that comes in unless it's a personal lead. If it's a personal lead and I'm trying to transfer it to one of the agents, they know that they're allowed to return the call and say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, I know you called Erica. She says you want to list your house. I'm Erica's partner. Because there's a certain level of client who won't speak to anyone except me. And that's not me being full of ego. It's just Dr. Smith calls and says, I have to have Erica Ramus. Well, my partner calls him back.
Yeah, it's a great approach.
But I also feel that I have to have a little bit of boots on the ground because I need to know what they're going through and the pain points. And sometimes I do it just to show them I'm one of them. So when we were on lockdown, I had challenges going with Boomtown and Sisu, and we had dial challenges, and they were supposed to log their calls. Every time they made a call, it was supposed to be logged into Boomtown. It funneled into Sisu, and we had leaderboards and we had challenges. And I told them, I'm right there with you. When I tell you I want 10 dials a day minimum, I'm making 10 dials a day too. So I reached out one day to someone who I didn't even think was even thinking of selling. It was a past client who told me he was redoing his bathroom in January. He called me and asked, what do I think about this kind of tile? And I said, that's fantastic. He says they're going to live and die in that house. Well, I called him in April and just left a voicemail and said, hey, wondering how you did with the tile. Did you finish the bathroom? And he called me right back and said, oh my God, I just got transferred to Nashville. Do you want to list the house? So I listed the house and then told the whole team, I made the dial, random dial, and we got a high-end listing out of it.
Yeah, congratulations. So you had sales challenges going on with the leaderboards, the Sisu gamification during COVID in, I would say, March and April, likely that was.
Yep.
And so most businesses that did what you did are up significantly this year, because they took advantage of that time to differentiate themselves. Most businesses that sat and didn't do that and find ways to increase their activity are down this year. Are you guys up this year from making that move?
We're up 28%. And Pennsylvania had a hard stop, meaning we were not supposed to be putting a sign in the ground. We weren't even supposed to be letting the sellers do their own showings, nothing. So we were shut down from March 18th till May 18th, and we had our best August, September, October in 13 years.
So you were still prospecting during that time, but you really couldn't do real estate. Could you meet? You could meet with people on Zoom. Were you doing Zoom meetings?
Some of them were doing FaceTime specifically.
Okay.
We were not really doing Zoom meetings. I tried to keep them motivated using the leaderboards and challenges. And we have a private Facebook group. So every day I posted something. I want you to write 3 thank you cards today. Tomorrow, I want you to make 10 dials to past clients. Wednesday, I want you to, order coffee from your favorite coffee shop. I don't know. We posted challenges almost every single day, and we kept them off the couch and off of Netflix. And I could tell who was who was making the dials. There was a direct correlation between the people who were making the dials, the texts, the emails, and those who closed in August, September, October.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a meeting in October where I said, I want you to look at the winners of the May challenge and see who were the top sellers in August. I want you to see the direct correlation between dials to closings. And gamification is great, but you've got to put the pieces together for them and show them the top winner of dials actually closed 30% more than she did a year ago.
So you can look back and show them that today, which I think is awesome. But what did you do during that time frame to motivate them? Like if they won a sales challenge, what did they get other than being the top producer 3 months later? Because that's hard to show, right?
If you've been enjoying Grit, please help us continue to grow the channel by leaving a 5-star review and sharing it with a friend. Now back to Grit.
I mixed it up a little bit. The main thing I did was I spend a lot of money on leads, a lot of money on Zillow, not just Zillow, but other portals that we spend money on. We spend money on paid Facebook ads, Boomtown paid spend. So my reward was the more dials you give, the higher on the leaderboard, the more leads you're going to get in your inbox.
Very nice. Yeah, that's a great motivator. So are you tracking in Sisu all of your expenses that you're paying for lead sources and getting your ROI on lead source reports?
I am not. I do all that in QuickBooks and then I manually do it. I need to do that, but I have not done that. We also have just last year started with the goals with the agents. And so this year we're ramping up and I'm plugging in all the goals. And but yeah, I manually figure out, we track everything. We track every closing. And so a couple of years ago, I thought the Zillow spend was out of control. It was kind of stupid. So we dialed it back for a little bit and then we checked the ROI and I went like, wow, we need to pump that up again because what I thought was an expensive buy turned out to be a very good ROI.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you want a quick one-on-one training on how to quickly do that in Sisu, I'm happy to volunteer some time to help you get that in place.
Thank you.
So I'd like to go back to 1997 with you. You started a magazine. And how do you pronounce the name of your city?
It's Schuylkill County. Schuylkill, it's Dutch.
Schuylkill. Okay, so Schuylkill County. You started a Schuylkill Living magazine. Tell me about that. Is that how people got to know you? Or tell me more about that magazine.
Well, and this is called Grit. So I'll tell you a little bit about before that. So my degree is in English, professional writing, science journalism. And in 1987, I started with a magazine called Reptile and Amphibian Magazine. It was a startup, and I started at the bottom, opening mail, and worked my way up to editor-in-chief. And I bought that magazine in 1995 from my boss in the dumbest pregnancy move ever. So I took the magazine over, and within 2 years was $750,000 in debt. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong, from major vendors backing out to the industry turning. We talk about disruption in real estate. The whole industry got disrupted with two major players who came out to hammer. There were two of us, two very small independent magazines, one in LA, one in Pennsylvania, and two major players came out to hammer us. I don't know if you ever heard Cat Fancy, Dog Fancy, that guy in LA. And then in New Jersey, there was something called Fancy, Fish Fancy, all kinds of fancy publications out of New Jersey, and they hammered us, and we went down in flames. So I was $750,000 in debt, and I had this brilliant idea to start a new magazine. So to my husband's credit, I've been with my husband for 30 some years, and he said to me, we have no money, you have no time for your family, and you want to start a brand new magazine out of the gate. And I said, yes. So he didn't leave me. And we started Schuylkill Living magazine. And that was a small local magazine, which you've got to have something like Salt Lake Living or Salt Lake Magazine or something in your city. So my idea was to bring that to the coal region of Pennsylvania and take the big city magazine and bring it to the coal region. And people told me, it's not going to work. There aren't enough coffee tables in our county to support you. And it worked. It took off and it was amazing. So I was the magazine lady and I sold the ads and I wrote the stories and I took the photos and, I started in 1997 and we just took off. And so 2 years after suffering this giant business failure, I won Businesswoman of the Year in the area, and nobody knew. Nobody locally knew that I had crashed and burned just 2 years prior to that.
Mm-hmm. They only see the upside. They don't see the challenges along the journey, right?
They didn't see that I ran the business. When I couldn't pay payroll, I used my Discover card. Just crazy stuff that I learned on the first time around that I will never, ever, ever repeat again. So that I was the magazine lady. And when I started in real estate, I started because one of my clients was a realtor and they paid me to do their marketing. This was in the day of, SLRs and cameras, real cameras. Mm-hmm. And I would go out and shoot the houses and then come back and with real film and real pictures, create trifold brochures, stuff that nobody knew how to do, but I knew how to do it. And so
you started working with a lot of real estate companies at the time, since you kind of came up with that talent and that marketing expertise?
I just worked with one mainly, and they would pay me every time they had a really good listing. And at one point, the guy sold like a $10 million property, which is huge in my area. It was commercial. And he came to me and he said, because of your brochure, I just sold this corner gas station and I made X amount of dollars and here's $500 for you. And if you got your real estate license, I could pay you a nice commission, but because you did the photos, here's $500. And so the light went off and I got my real estate license.
Okay. That's a cool story. So what year was that you were doing that? Because you started your living magazine in 1997. You opened your real estate brokerage in 2007. So
I got my real estate license in 2000.
Okay.
And I ran both companies for a while. I had two phones on my desk, the real estate phone and the magazine phone. And they worked together for quite a while, but I was an instant success, not because I was a great real estate salesperson, but because everybody knew me as the magazine lady. And when I got a listing,
and you made it publicly known you were in real estate through the magazine.
Yeah. And I took out full page, full color ads in my own magazine.
I'm sure you did. Good for you. All right. Well, that's a fun story. So right now you are the president-elect at Reading Berks Association of Realtors. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So you're very active. How do you find time you still have a husband. How do you find time to, juggle your family, your business, and then do the volunteer work that you do as well?
Sometimes it's harder than others. This was a tough year. I had a lot of personal travel. My father got really sick in June and he died at Christmas. One of my sons went through a personal thing and I had to make several trips to Austin, Texas in the past 6 months. So it's hard, but you learn how to time block and juggle. And I think that you make time for what's important to you. So many people say, I didn't have time to do that last night. Well, yeah, but you had time to watch Netflix for 3 hours. Mm-hmm. So you make time for what's important for you and you systemize things and I have a fallback plan. At one point I had to get on a plane and go to Austin with 24 hours notice, and everything back at the office was systemized, and I was a little bit worried, but they handled it while I was gone for a week. It's just what you do.
You obviously have a lot of grit, and I love that since this is the Grit podcast, and just seeing your journey is a fun thing to see here. I'd love to get your advice for either somebody starting a real estate business or somebody starting just in real estate. Like, what are the most important things in each case, or you can choose one that you would like to give for that person starting a real estate business or starting just in real estate?
Starting a business is my wheelhouse. I talk to a lot of people who want to jump ship, who want to open a company. Because of my articles on Inman writing about independent brokerages, people just call me and say they're a top producer at XYZ and they want to open their own company. And the first thing is, being top producer at XYZ is not anything like running your own company.
Yeah, being a great salesperson and running a business are two different things, right?
They're totally different. And if you want to open your own brokerage just because you want to be in charge, that's not necessarily the best reason to open your own company. There's so much work on the back end, and you're not going to get out to do the things you might love. Like, you might love listing, you might love working with buyers. If you're running your own company, you're rarely going to do that. So number one, understand that there's a difference between those two things. And secondly, you need to understand how to run a business, any business, before you open your own brokerage. And in my business, first business failure and second business success, it led to my third business success. Because if I didn't have the big failures that I had and the really stupid, dumb business moves I made in 1995 and 1997, I don't think I'd be as successful. I learned really by falling on my face what not to do the second and third time around. And you have to understand the business world before you open up the doors.
And to your point, a lot of people that fall on their face never get back up. And if you can fall on your face and look at that as a learning experience that takes you one step closer to success, then fall on your face as much as you can, right? It's just a different perspective on how you view that. So
just don't make the same mistake twice.
Exactly. Yeah. It's learning. It's progressing forward, right? It's been fun having you on the show. We're not quite done because I want to ask you some personal questions before we go. So do you have a few more minutes?
Sure.
Okay. So you've had exchange students from all over the world. One more thing to just volunteer your time and consume your time instead of Netflix consuming your time. But you've had, I don't know, dozens of exchange students from all over the world come to your house. How did you guys start doing this and why?
So when I was 16, I left home. I left school in small rural Pennsylvania, and I went to an international school. I applied, and I was top of my class in St. Clair, Pennsylvania, which honestly was great. Only it means nothing when you're in the bigger world. Top of your class out of 86 means nothing in the big picture.
Right.
So I applied to this international school, and my father, who was a teacher, said, "Good job, apply, but good luck." And I got an interview, and he freaked out a little bit. The interview was in New York City. He had never gone out of Pennsylvania to go to New York City. So he said, "If you can get to New York City to the interview, you can go." And I got to New York City, found a friend who had a sister who lived in New York City, and we got on a bus together and went up for the weekend. And he said, "Okay, if you get the place, you can go, but only if you get a scholarship." And I got a scholarship. So it was an international school called Arm & Hammer United World College, the American West in New Mexico. And there were 100 students in each class. And it's my way of giving back. So that 2 years when I was 16, 17, 18 were the best 2 years of my education ever. And I lived with kids from 50 different countries. And international understanding is a passion of mine. And so it's my way of giving back and giving someone a home who needs a home for whether it's 6 weeks or 9 months. The kids make our home their home.
I love it. So How important is contribution to your life and to your happiness? I mean, you're contributing in a big way to so many people's lives. What kind of impact does that have on your life? Because I think that's something that's missing from so many people's lives. And I'd love to hear what a difference that makes in your life to be able to do that kind of thing.
Money is great. My business is great. Closing things is great, but contributing to a higher purpose, I think it has value in my life. And to some people, maybe that's church. Maybe it's donating your time at a food pantry or a homeless shelter, or it's volunteering at your church every Sunday. For me, it's giving back to people who really need help. As far as the students go, they need a home. My husband and I are also trail angels on the Appalachian Trail. And so on any given Friday in the summer, my husband will text me and say, I've got 5 of them. I'm going to Giant to buy food. We've got 5 in the house this weekend. And I will have 5 people sleeping on my floor and using my laundry and for an entire weekend. So it's not just me, it's my husband and his philosophy as well. And as far as giving back to my association, it's about one of my biggest frustrations is the lack of professionalism and education in real estate. And so for me, giving back, that's my passion. I want to give back. I want to help make our association the most professional, the most educated I possibly can.
Yeah, well, congratulations to you. That just says a tremendous amount about you, that you and your husband do that. So thanks for your efforts in making a difference in other people's lives. I want to ask you as well, what is your favorite book or your favorite source of learning? Because you've done a lot of learning. So what's had the biggest impact on your life?
I wish I had time to read more. I honestly am a passionate reader. I have not been able to read a book all year, I swear. But I'm a big fan of podcasts, and I love listening to the Wharton School of Business online. I listen to that as I'm driving. I just drove back and forth to Michigan. So, an 11-hour trip, and I listened nonstop to Wharton School of Business, HBR, Harvard Business Review, and Bloomberg Radio. And
so you're going to Wharton and Harvard while you're driving down the street. What kind of content do they talk about because I haven't been on either of those podcasts. I love podcasts as well, but I have not been on those. So what kind of content are you getting out of those?
The funny thing is I put them on the loop, and some of them are 20 minutes. Some of them are up to an hour. And I do not pick my topics. I just keep playing the loop, because sometimes I will hit a topic that I have no interest in nanotechnology. As I was driving, I'm listening, like, up comes Professor such and such on nanotechnology in biomedicine. I don't care about that, but I learned something out of that podcast. And I find that sometimes I find nuggets of information I can actually use in my personal life or business out of the most obscure topics. There's something, I think it's Wharton, that has Masters of Business, it's called, and it's about an hour long. And these obscure topics, people who are investment bankers who are way over my head, but you listen to that for an hour and you learn general philosophies of business.
Yeah, I'm going to have to listen to that. Wharton School of Business. That sounds like something we should all be listening to if we love business. So thanks for opening me up to that. That is new for me. So
I'm a nerd. I'm sorry.
No, I love it. That's great. I will be adding that podcast to my list of podcasts today. And what's your favorite place to visit? Your dad had never been out of Pennsylvania and probably didn't think you were going to get out of Pennsylvania. Now you've been all over the world. What's your favorite place to visit?
And my dad did travel. He was military. He went to Germany, blah, blah, blah. But to him, getting in the car to go to Philadelphia was a major trip, let alone going to New York City. I have a son in Alaska who's a pilot. I haven't been there yet. That's on the list. But I love traveling to Austin, Texas, because my grandson's there. So I have a 20-month-old grandson, and I go every other month just to help my son. And so I love traveling to Texas. I love the weather there. I love the terrain. So
Yeah, nice. Well, it's good that your son moved there then, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Was it your son or daughter that moved there?
My son and my grandson.
Okay. So how do people best get a hold of you if they want to reach out to you?
I'd give you the name of my real estate company. It's ramusrealty.com, or you could check out ericaramus.com. Erica Ramus is my personal website.
Okay. All right, Erica. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been great catching up with you and learning about your business and your personal life and what's important to you that drives your life ahead in big ways. So thanks for sharing that with us. For those of you listeners out there, please remember to go give us a review. It'll mean the world to me if you'll do that. It will help us also bring in more guests that will enhance your life by giving us those reviews. So that being said, Erica, have an amazing day. I look forward to getting to know you better. And if you want to get together on Sisu to talk about ROI and how to do that easily, just let me know. Just reach out and I'll be happy to touch base with you on that. Okay?
I will do that.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you for joining us on our podcast. If you have an interest in a free 7-day trial of Sisu, go to sisu.co, sisu.co. Make sure that you use the coupon code GRIT, that's GRIT, to waive all your setup fees and receive a 10% discount on your subscription. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and want to subscribe, search GRIT, the Real Estate Growth Mindset, on iTunes, Spotify, or Podbean. And with that, we'll catch you next time. Take care.